Let's just take a look back at the good old days, or glory days, 2020? But first, give this video a like so that YouTube recommends it to more people. Up until August 2020, the US Federal Reserve's mandate to achieve maximum employment has revolved around the unemployment rate. It has been defined as a broad-based and inclusive goal designed to drive tightness in the labor market that reaches the most underserved segments of the working population. A strong and inclusive labor market is likely to strengthen labor's bargaining power. This brings us to the Great Resignation. Also known as the Big Quit or the Great Reshuffle, the Great Resignation is an ongoing economic trend in which employees have voluntarily resigned from their jobs en masse, beginning in early 2021. Possible causes include wage stagnation amid rising costs of living, long-lasting job dissatisfaction, safety concerns of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the desire to work for companies with better remote working policies. Some economists have described the Great Resignation as akin to a general strike. High quit rates indicate worker confidence in the ability to get higher paying jobs, which typically correlates with high economic stability, an abundance of people working, and low unemployment rates. Those who walked away and are now employed elsewhere are more likely to have better pay, improved work-life balance and flexibility, and more opportunities for advancement at their new job. People also opted to retire instead of looking for new work, while others became their own bosses and started businesses. In fact, there was a surge in new businesses forming last year, with applications hitting 5.4 million, according to the US Census Bureau. We could now work from the comfort of our own homes, not sit in a car for 30 minutes to an hour a day commuting, if not more, no longer being bogged down by office small talk, and now we get to take cuddle breaks with our dogs and cats. Higher pay, job functions you prefer, working from home in the city of your choice, what's not to love? But is it coming to an end? After a period of incredible job growth, many economists are calling it a cooling off. It started last winter in February with Peloton. The home fitness company, whose stock price more than quadrupled in the pandemic, announced it was cutting 2,800 jobs. Since then, there have been more layoff announcements from the other high flyers such as Coinbase, Netflix, Tesla, and more. Many technology startups that saw tremendous growth in 2020, particularly in the real estate, financial, and delivery sectors, are beginning to see a slowdown in users, and coupled with inflation and interest rate concerns, are restructuring their workforce to cut costs. Some industries saw more of a slowdown than others in June. Construction companies added just 13,000 jobs during the month, less than half as many as the month before, as home building has declined in response to rising mortgage rates. That being said, though the tech and housing sector might be contracting, other industries seem to be set on continuing the red-hot job market. Hiring slowed only slightly last month, and the US job market remains resilient despite high inflation and waning economic growth. The Labor Department said today that employers added 372,000 jobs in June. The unemployment rate held steady at 3.6%, while the labor force shrank by 350,000 people. Job gains have slowed since the first third of this year, where employers were adding nearly 500,000 jobs per month on average, but economists say a slowdown isn't surprising, now that the US has replaced most of its jobs that were lost during the pandemic slowdown 2 years ago. Employment at private sector businesses is higher now than it was in February of 2020, while government employment still lags a bit. While last month's job gains hardly point to an economic downturn, there are some signs that both employers and workers are becoming more cautious. Job postings at the beginning of June were down slightly from the previous month. The number of workers quitting jobs voluntarily also declined. A recent survey by ZipRecruiter found a drop in the number of workers who believe the job market will be plentiful 6 months from now. So, though today's numbers is better than expected to some, a slowdown may be welcomed. While the Fed is not trying to prompt layoffs, it would be welcoming some cooling off from a red-hot job market. A growing number of economists worry that inflation has now climbed so high that the Fed will need to crack down hard to get prices under control, which could tip the economy into a recession. In recent weeks, that fear has led to considerable volatility in the stock market. But no matter what happens, what can you do to prepare for the end of the workers' economy if it were to happen? Keeping your skills up to date? Sure. Making sure that your resume is spitting some straight fire? Why not? But to be financially prepared, just make sure you have 6 months of living expenses saved up, set aside, never touching it unless an emergency pops up like losing a job and having a hard time finding a new one. Let me know your thoughts on today's jobs report and keep the conversation going in the comments below. I try to respond to every message possible. Give this video a like so that YouTube recommends it to more people. Subscribe and stick around for more. Thanks.